The Eternal Gaze, when Lee Min-ho met Hye Kyo. Before this story begins, take a breath, and let your heart wander. If you love moments where emotion meets destiny, subscribe and join our community of dreamers who believe in timeless love. In the shimmering world of Korean drama, few names shine brighter than Lee Min-ho and Hye Kyo. He, the prince of charisma, with eyes that could melt an empire. She, the queen of grace, whose quiet strength can move mountains without ever raising her voice. For years, fans dreamed of a moment when these two legends would share the same frame. When it finally happened, the world did not just watch, it held its breath. It begins in Seoul, under a golden twilight that paints the skyline in shades of honey and fire. Lee Min-ho walks through the glass doors of an art gallery, his steps measured and calm, his suit perfectly tailored. The sound of soft jazz floats through the air. At the far end of the room, beneath a painting of a lonely sea, stands Hye Kyo. She is radiant in simplicity, dressed in ivory silk that glows softly in the fading light. Their eyes meet. Time slows. The chatter fades. The air seems to hum between them, carrying an invisible melody that only they can hear. She tilts her head slightly, offering a polite smile. He returns it, a hint of surprise flickering behind his calm expression. It is a meeting not of strangers, but of souls who seem to recognize each other from a dream long forgotten. Then comes the rain. The city is drenched, the streets glistening like mirrors reflecting 1,000 tiny lights. Hye Kyo runs through the downpour, her umbrella lost to the wind. She stops beneath a street lamp, drenched and breathless. Through the sheets of rain, Lee Min-ho appears. He walks slowly toward her, coat soaked, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes locked on hers. She tries to speak, but the storm drowns every word. He steps closer, close enough that she can see the droplets trembling on his eyelashes. And then, without warning, he says softly, "You never left, did you?" Her silence is an answer that speaks louder than words. It is the kind of scene that leaves the audience frozen in awe, hearts pounding, unable to look away. No grand declarations, no fireworks. Just two people standing in the rain, saying everything without saying anything at all. Time passes in their world. Hye Kyo finds herself drawn to a quiet park by the Han River, a place where time seems to move differently. She discovers a letter hidden in the hollow of an old tree, written in handwriting she knows too well. Lee Min-ho's voice narrates as she reads it. His tone is soft, almost a whisper, filled with emotion restrained yet powerful. The words speak of promises left unspoken, of love that transcends seasons, of a connection that even distance cannot erase. As she finishes reading, the camera pans out slowly. She stands beneath branches heavy with blossoms, tears glistening on her cheeks, a faint smile forming. Somewhere in the distance, a figure watches, Lee Min-ho, unseen by her, yet fully present in spirit. The music swells, strings trembling with emotion. Viewers can almost feel the ache of longing, the quiet acceptance of fate, the beauty of a love that endures without demand. Years later, they meet again, not by chance but by destiny. The setting is an old bookstore tucked away in a narrow alley of Paris. Dust motes float like tiny stars in the soft light. Hye Kyo is browsing through poetry when she hears a familiar voice behind her. Still looking for stories that don't end? She turns slowly. Lee Min-ho stands there, older, wiser, but with the same gaze that once stopped time. Their smiles are quiet, knowing, full of everything they have lived through. They sit by the window, coffee steaming between them as the world outside rushes by. There are no grand gestures, no tears, no goodbyes. Just peace, the kind that comes when two hearts finally find their rhythm again. Then comes the dream. A breathtaking scene set by the ocean at dawn. The waves crash gently as the horizon blushes with the first light of morning. Hye Kyo walks along the shore, the hem of her dress brushing the wet sand. She turns to find Lee Min-ho walking beside her, both smiling softly. No words are spoken. None are needed. The camera pans upward, capturing the vastness of the sea, the sky, and the infinite silence that holds them together. And as the screen fades to black, a single line appears in elegant script. Some souls are destined to meet again, no matter how many lifetimes it takes. Fans call it the drama of the decade. Critics call it a masterpiece. But to those who witnessed it, it was something more, a reminder that true chemistry is not created, it is discovered. Lee Min-ho's quiet strength and Song Hye Kyo's ethereal grace created magic that words can barely capture. Their performances were not just acting, they were poetry in motion, a symphony of glances, silences, and emotions that lingered long after the credits rolled. Every scene, every breath, every stolen look became a moment fans replayed endlessly, searching for new meanings in the spaces between words. It was a story of love, loss, and rediscovery, one that felt achingly real, as if it had always existed, waiting for these two to bring it to life. In an industry that thrives on glamour and spectacle, Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo gave us something rarer, truth wrapped in beauty. And perhaps that is the real magic. Because sometimes, the most mind-blowing thing is not the twist, the scenery, or the drama. It is the simple, breathtaking moment when two souls meet and remind us what it means to feel. The story picks up where the dream fades, where the ocean dissolves into the glow of morning. Song Hye Kyo wakes slowly, the sound of waves still echoing in her ears. She sits by the window of a quiet apartment overlooking Paris, the same city where she and Lee Min-ho last met. The years have been kind, yet her eyes still hold that same wistful calm, the kind that carries both peace and longing. Outside, the city stirs to life. Somewhere far away, perhaps across the world, Lee Min-ho stands before another window, looking at a skyline kissed by dawn. He touches the glass, as if reaching for something unseen. In the reflection, a faint smile crosses his face. It is as though they both feel it, that quiet connection that never truly faded. She spends her day wandering through old streets lined with autumn leaves, the world painted in gold. Every face she passes seems to hold a story, every corner a memory. And then, as she turns a bend near the Seine, she sees a familiar figure sitting on a bench, sketchbook in hand. It is him. For a moment she freezes, unsure if it is reality or a trick of her heart. But then he looks up, and their eyes meet once more. No music, no slow motion, no grand entrance, just a simple gaze that feels like coming home. He stands, smiling that same quiet smile that once melted every wall between them. "You found me," he says softly. "I was never looking," she replies, her voice steady but full of warmth. "You were always where I was meant to be." They walk together by the river, steps unhurried, words few. The years that passed no longer matter. The silence between them is full, alive, humming with everything that was once left unsaid. They stop at a small cafe, the kind that only locals know, tucked away behind vines and old stone. He orders coffee, she orders tea, and they sit facing the sunlight. He looks at her for a long moment before speaking. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had met sooner?" She shakes her head gently. "If we met sooner, we wouldn't have been ready. We had to lose each other to understand what we truly wanted." He nods, as if he has known this all along. The air around them feels lighter, freer, as if time itself has been waiting for this moment to breathe again. Later, as the sun dips below the rooftops, they find themselves at the same bridge where they once said goodbye. The city glows with 1,000 tiny lights, and the river flows beneath them, carrying whispers of everything they once were. She leans on the railing, watching the reflections ripple across the water. "Do you think stories ever really end?" she asks quietly. He steps beside her, his voice calm and sure. "No. Some stories don't end. They just change shape." She smiles, turning toward him. Then maybe this is our beginning. He reaches out, gently taking her hand, their fingers fitting together as if they were always meant to. The camera would linger here, capturing that look, not of passion, but of peace, the kind of love that no longer needs to prove itself. The wind picks up, carrying the soft scent of rain and roses. The world around them seems to slow once more, just as it did the first time they met. And as the city lights shimmer in their eyes, Lee Min-ho whispers, "No matter where we go, I'll find you again." She smiles, a tear glistening before she blinks it away. "You already have." The screen fades slowly, their silhouettes framed against the glowing city, the sound of the river blending into the gentle hum of a piano. The final shot captures them walking away together, hand in hand, disappearing into the crowd like two verses in the same song. Then, as the music swells and the credits begin to roll, a single line appears across the screen. Some stories are not meant to end. They are meant to be lived again and again, by the hearts that never forget. If this story touched your heart, like this video to share the feeling. Comment below, what moment between Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo stayed with you the most? And subscribe, so you never miss another love story that reminds us what it means to feel. Because some stories don't fade when the credits roll. They live on, in every heart that remembers.